Turning points change the course of our lives, whether it's a big decision, overcoming an obstacle or tragedy, or taking a leap of faith. These stories of inspiration and resilience are what Turning Point is all about. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Turning Point. This week, we have a guest with an incredible turning point story. It's actually full of turning points. Tareq Hadhad came to Canada as a Syrian refugee in 2015. Now, before he left Damascus, his family's chocolate factory was among thousands of businesses destroyed in a bombing. When Tareq came to Canada, his family went to Antigonish, Nova Scotia, and there they founded Peace by Chocolate. The chocolate company has been mentioned by the Prime Minister in a speech at the UN. It has made headlines right across the country, both for its delicious chocolate and also for its mission to give back to the community. And of course, also, we can't forget for the resilience of its founding family. Tareq, thank you so much for being here today.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be on this amazing podcast. As I mentioned to you, I really like the subject, and I hope that I have so much to contribute in terms of the past just decade of everything that has happened in our lives.
Well, you absolutely do. Actually, right before our call, I've followed your story over the years. Of course, I used to be a news anchor in Nova Scotia, and then I moved to Toronto, and where I covered your story with the Prime Minister mentioning you at the UN. But before this call, I was just looking at pictures of your new shop in Halifax, and congratulations, first of all. It's so beautiful. How did it feel to see that dream come to life?
It felt everything. We have been working on this for a very long time. The story in Halifax has been an amazing opportunity for us to have all of our products lined up all together. And we had a lot of people behind this project. People see my picture all the time. They don't see the picture of 60 people behind this project, which is really marvelous. They're from the designing team to the architectural team to the construction team to the production team to the chocolate makers team, chocolate tasters. We had a lot of people really working on the location. But it is really amazing to have an opportunity to be downtown Halifax at the heart of the city, only 5 years of arriving here. It just speaks volume, of the opportunities that immigrants can have in their new communities and their new homes. Nothing really can stop us. We are limitless. There is a chance for us to be anything and whoever we want to be. But for the store, let me tell you something about the store. Last year, when we started building the idea, it was in January 2020. So it was just the month, my favorite month of the year, only in 2020 because I got my citizenship. January usually is, and February, I usually try to stay home and stay cozy and warm. I don't get out, but January 2020 was the month of my citizenship. I became Canadian citizen after an eventful, 4 year in my journey in Canada after arriving here in 2015 in December. So last year we started, having an idea that let's just build something in Halifax, wherever that's going to be. And then we had that opportunity to be at the Queen's Mark. It's the most modern space, actually, east of Montreal. It's going to be one of the most amazing buildings as you go, east of Montreal in the country. So we are now in that amazing spot. That speaks volume about the story of modern Nova Scotia. And when you ask the people of the Queen's Mark, they tell you that this amazing building, it has so much to speak about the heritage and the culture of the province. And it's the newest building in the entire province. Halifax is one of the most vibrant cities and most, I think, expanding cities in the entire country, maybe the first or the second as we are speaking right now. So there is really a lot of synergy between our story and the province and the mission that Nova Scotia is trying to get more people immigrating to this amazing spot in the country, trying to raise the awareness about the success that immigrants can have. And absolutely, the Ivany report in Nova Scotia states that the immigration is one of the key points of success for the economy and for the people in this province. So I hope that we are sharing this amazing mission with the province and with the country, highlighting the opportunity of translating your skills and your talents into something so beautiful as you saw into the store. The design speaks about our culture.
Really looking forward to coming to Halifax and seeing your new store in person. It's really just so fascinating and beautiful to hear this story of how it all came together, of the fact that you were really able to incorporate some of these important cultural elements into the store, that it tells the story not just of Peace by Chocolate, but of your family and the history there as well that you bring with you from Syria. And on that note, I did want to ask you, what would you say is your biggest turning point?
Well, there have been many in the past 10 years. The biggest turning point in my life has been immigrating and certainly moving to Canada. There's never been bigger, there would never be bigger, I would say, in my entire life, because Canada, the opportunity to come to Canada was at a certain point where I lost hope in and faith in humanity, right? When you are living in such struggle as a refugee, when you lose everything and then you knock on the doors of every single country in the world, you cannot go back to Syria. We were in Lebanon, so we were like in a transitional period. We cannot stay in Lebanon. We knew that. And no other country opened the doors for us. And Canada was just, just waving for us with that beautiful opportunity in 2015, invited me for an interview at the embassy at the beginning of the year, and then they invited my family with me. And I was like, wow, that's a great opportunity. And Canada told me at that time that the application was really excellent and they liked the potential of our family coming here, starting their lives after losing everything to the war. So I would always say that this is really the most important opportunity that I've had in my life after just losing everything. And it's just something that gives me hope. Turning points usually should be used, I would say, in life as a source of hope and resilience, right? Turning points is when you are so down and you feel that you're broken and you cannot really get out of that hole that you are into. And then you just find yourself out of it. So, and you find the light at the end of the tunnel. And Canada was that light at the end of the tunnel for me. And that's a turning point. So now, whenever a crisis happens, for example, the pandemic, when it started, I'm like, as we survived from being refugees in 2013 until 2015 and came to Canada, I'm sure there is hope, right? So I'm building on that hope that started with moving to Canada into surviving multiple crises, one at a time. And I just believe that nothing compares to losing everything in the war, certainly. So living in a pandemic is nothing compared to that. But talking about moving to Canada has been that light that has inspired us to come here, restart our lives, and rebuild and give back to the amazing country that has shaped us the way we are today after 5 years.
Well, we are so happy that you ended up in Canada, and we're certainly lucky to have you. I know that you mentioned some of the charities you support. I know you focus also on helping other refugees as well. Take me back to that time in 2012 when you were living in Syria and your family's factory was bombed.
Absolutely. Well, 2012 was the year where the war reached Damascus. Before 2012, people started asking for reforms in the government. They were protesting on the streets. They were anxious about getting better lives for themselves and their family, but it just reached to the war point, to the conflict, to the violence that no one really wanted in 2012. And it was the first time in the middle of July 2012 when I was sitting there with the family in our house having dinner. It was the middle of July. It was a really beautiful day, hot day, but it was the first night that you start hearing explosions around the building. It was the first night that you start hearing helicopters just flying at a low distance from all the neighborhood. It was the first time you see soldiers on the street, the first time you see tanks, the first time you just feel that the entire thing is just burning out. Around the neighborhood, you hear the screams of kids and parents, because they are losing their lives, in the bombings and in the shooting. So we ran all the family members into the basement at that time. We were living in Syria, our entire family members, 60 of them in one building. And 10 floors, we rushed from that 10 building floor into a little tiny room in the basement we had. And we used to say, oh, this room is just for earthquakes. right? And we're just joking about it before. It's like, we know there's not going to be an earthquake in Damascus. There's never really been an earthquake in Damascus. And we use that room to hide, to escape from the hell that was just upstairs. There were horror show. You would find really all kind of the miseries of the war that you were hearing about it in Hollywood movies. You were hearing about it during the Second World War. Chemical weapons were used in the Syrian war, and people were really scared. They didn't know what is happening, right? Everything people were asking for is their rights and to have a better future. And they were faced with all this kind of violence. And really, the most victims that they have been living through this war are civilians who really didn't want to play part in this. So by late 2012, it was at that time when we lost our building. It was stolen, then it was burned, and it was bombed. So they just stole it, and then they burnt it, and then they bombed it. That's our house. But we said we are not going to leave Syria at that time. We decided to stay. So we gave ourselves another chance. Other family members, they left. Now our family are scattered in 26 countries. So my family are everywhere right now. My cousins, my uncles, my aunts, they are everywhere. They're in Germany, Sweden. Let me remember the US, Brazil, they are in Japan, Malaysia, some of them they are in Turkey, in Egypt. Just really crazy when you think about it. So by late 2012, we had another house in downtown Damascus that we moved to. It was safer. And we were living there for a while until the factory was bombed. And let me tell you this just short story. My father left at that time. It was the end of 2012. It was really busy time, just making chocolate during the war. And my father kept saying that making chocolate is something that he will never give up, right? He will never really just leave. It's something that it's deep in him. It's his passion. It's something that he spent his blood, sweat, and tears building that second largest chocolate factory in the region in 2005 and opening it and shipping it all across to Europe and the Middle East. And he was like, yeah, I'm going to work. It's war, but I'm going to work. At that time, I was not involved in a business. I was a medical student. So I was going to hospitals and I was just doing all these trainings. I was aspiring to become a cardiac surgeon. And my father was at the factory and he called me and he was like, there are going to be explosions around the building. I'm like, Dad, I really just saw that on the news too. So maybe you should leave. All the staff should leave. No one believed what could happen during a war, right? Like you do not have any expectations of what could happen worse. Like, what's the worst limit? What's the worst threshold that the war can reach? And at that time, my father was at the factory. I told him to leave. He asked all the staff, hundreds of staff, just evacuate all the factory. And he was the last to just be in his car and leave. He started driving. 10 minutes after my father and all the staff have left the factory, it was bombed by the most powerful explosion that has really happened, I think, in the entire region at that time. It was bombed by an airstrike, and the entire factory was just leveled on the ground. There was like nothing left. So my father came home and he really didn't know what happened, but he was happy that he survived. He didn't know what was bombed. He just knew that there was an explosion. And when he arrived, I showed him, some of the pictures that one of our neighbors sent to us, and it was all really heartbreaking. When you build something with your blood, sweat, and tears, and you just see it destroyed just in a blink of an eye. There was no warning. There was no message. There was no notification just a day before. It just happened really quickly. And my father spent the next 3 days after the explosion. He did not speak to anyone. He was just saying everything has gone. Everything has gone. And that was certainly one of the main reasons that has led our family to leave Syria. It was one of the biggest motivations that started making our decision easier to start making our way out of the country.
Tareq, it's just so horrifying to hear about what happened, and I can't even begin to imagine what that would have been like for your family. Like you said, your blood, sweat, and tears that your father put into building this factory. It's your family's livelihood. And then also to feel, I'm sure that added another layer of just feeling unsafe in your home country. I I know you mentioned a little bit at the beginning about resilience and, all of us having to exercise the resilience we do have during this pandemic, but this is certainly providing a completely new perspective on what some families like yours have been through. So after this happened, then you ended up in Lebanon, right?
That's correct, yes. So after a few months, so the explosion happened by the end of 2012. We were in Lebanon in March 2013.
Wow. Okay. And when you were in Lebanon, and thankfully, and your father came with you to Lebanon, did he?
That's correct, yes. So my
Okay.
immediate family, we left together, but we had still, had many family members that they couldn't leave at that time. And they're still there until now. One of them is my sister and her husband and her family that I haven't really seen in a decade.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I know you mentioned 26 countries. I mean, that would be that in itself, just going from everyone being together and close to having to flee to all of these different places. That in itself it must have been very challenging. And to this day, I'm sure. Um, when you were in Lebanon, were you in a refugee camp?
No, actually, what happened in Lebanon is when we arrived there, we had two ways, right? Whether we like say we give up and we just go and then live as refugees in refugee camp and just sit there, or we can use our skills and our talents and still be refugees, registered with the UNHCR, and help as much as possible. So what we did there is we started moving around Lebanon, and our family at that time were like, we can help. Like we are a big family, so how can we help? Distribute food to other refugees, distribute medicines. For me, as with my healthcare expertise, I started volunteering with many organizations in Lebanon, like WHO, like UNHCR, like many amazing relief efforts that they were trying just to build primary and secondary healthcare centers, heal and treat people with wounds in the war, or people with cancers and thalassemia, and get funding and apply, do all of this amazing work. I was so passionate really about it. So we were just moving around Lebanon at that time, but we have built many friendships with the community there. As an entire family, we're just living in one small room at a time. As we were moving. The only thing that survived from the Syrian war at that time was our Syrian car that we lost again in Lebanon. So, as a family, we had many cars in Syria. They were all really lost in the war. They were burned and they were stolen. But we survived in a small car. Imagine, 8 members of my family were really stuck in a small SUV that we had at that time. That we were just moving around Lebanon. So it was a great time for us to start reflecting on the blessings that we had before the war, right? When you lose everything and then you become to that point, it was like you don't want to play the role of victim, because you want to always play the role of victor. Whatever happens in your life, right? Like you don't want to just play the role of victim and sit down and complain, because you can always dig down and find solutions, even at the most heartbreaking points in your life, the saddest points in your life, the most upsetting points in your life. You can always do something good about it. You can really find positivity about it. One of the positivities we found during living as refugees in Lebanon is the amazing connectivity between human beings, and we have seen many refugees in refugee camps. When I was visiting there, they were turning it into a very vibrant place. They started building businesses in a refugee camp. Many refugees, they started actually building businesses in the camp. They started, engaging with the community. They started, flourishing the economy in Lebanon. So there is so much positive impact that refugees have had on the neighboring countries of Syria, like Lebanon, like Turkey, like Jordan. So I had worked so much with the Lebanese community, with many organizations like International Alert too, and we had a lot of amazing conversations about what does it mean to live as a human being and as a refugee. And we started reflecting on something very important at that time, which is no one was born to be a refugee, right? No one was born and wanted to be a refugee or wanted to be an immigrant. No one wanted to just wake up one day and you ask them, what do you want to be in the future? And absolutely everyone want to be something positive. Everyone be want to be contributing. Everyone want to live in their own communities, right? No one wants to just leave everything. So becoming a refugee or becoming an immigrant is not a life goal. It's not a choice. It's not a decision. It's something you are forced to live. Something that you can turn into an opportunity to build and not to tear down. And that's what we did back then.
Well, your optimism is certainly so inspiring, and the fact that you were in this situation and that your family was able to, to really turn the focus and try to help other people. And I know you mentioned that you were in medical school as well at this time, so you were able to offer some health to some healthcare
That's
organizations.
right.
But what was that like for you personally? I mean, you were quite close. I think you were in your last year, right, of
That's
finishing
right.
your
Yeah, I
degree.
was very close to graduation at that time. Yeah, yeah. It was amazing, really, to be there. You learn a lot into school. So certainly, if you are in medicine, but you learn a lot more if you are in the field. Like I was always there in the hospitals. I was always doing training. I was always learning from those who are older than me at that time, and getting all the insights from them just really amazing. Just has expanded my knowledge at that time. So when I arrived in Lebanon, it was a decision that I have made to start engaging with the community, go on mobile clinics, be with physicians, all kind of physicians, help orchestrate, many campaigns to help patients, build many operations rooms, like in hospitals, and try to get funding and contact all of these medical supplies companies, and just try to make sure that I'm having a positive contribution to the many lives that I felt that I'm personally responsible for in Lebanon, because I know that not too many Syrians actually they had the opportunity to be in a position where they got all of their family members with them. So I was really lucky and blessed that my immediate family have been with me since moment one. So we had that amazing family support all together, and we kept in contact with all the other family members too. So for me, medicine has been my passion since I was born. Actually, I had that passion, and I was growing up with that love of healing people and really treating people and just diminishing the pain. So I think let me connect that to you and whoever is going to listen and view it. When our family started making chocolate, it was like chocolate raises happiness and chocolate makes happiness. So I was really always inspired by that. Wow, this is really amazing. Chocolate is a product of happiness. Everyone eats chocolate will be happy. No one eats chocolate will be sad. It's like a symbol of happy occasions, right? Like it's you don't really give chocolate on mainly on other than happy occasions. You share it with during family connections, family events. In Canada here, there's Easter, there's the holidays when all the family are together. In the Middle East is the same. There's Eid, there's Ramadan, there's all kind of different events that you eat just chocolate on it. So I was always really inspired by that fact. It's like it's a happy product. My family really wants to see people happy. And for me, as an aspiring physician at that time, I was correlating medicine and chocolate, just like medicine seeks to diminish the pain, right? And when you diminish the pain, you are certainly reaching that middle point when the chocolate is raising happiness. So it's a really interesting start. It was for my journey in medicine too, because to get into med school in Damascus is very competitive. Like everywhere else, like in Canada here, we are also being. I've been checking on many immigrants who come here with many credentials, and certainly they cannot get into med school or dentistry or pharmacy, right? It's just because it's difficult to get through your credentials recognized in this country. So that's another fight that I started being into since I came here. Just like we need to get more immigrants to be in the field that they wanted to be in. More physicians. We need more physicians. We need more dentists. We need all of those qualified people to be in the field that they want to be in. So when I came to Canada, the story for me is I was inspired to get back to medicine, but then I was certainly faced with all of those roadblocks that I did not imagine. But medicine kept being the passion for me, and I just found my path here again by restarting the business of the family. And just as I mentioned, there's always a connection between medicine and chocolate.
Yeah. Oh, I love that you were able to draw that connection. And when I do remember reading a couple of stories actually about you before Peace by Chocolate when you were trying to navigate the system here of medical school and describing just how challenging it is. And as you say, we are a country very much in need of physicians. So it is so frustrating on so many levels that we aren't able to we don't have that system where we can transfer the skills and of people like you who have been educated somewhere else. And I think it's great to hear that you're still kind of fighting that battle because it is something that I know a lot of people would like to see change, and hopefully it will.
Absolutely.
I want to go back to the to your time in Lebanon there, and then the transition to Canada. So you mentioned that you had that interview at the embassy that they told you that your application was a good fit, and then what happened next?
I go to the embassy. I find, people there waiting for me. I do the interview. I was supposed to be a scholarship with WUSC, so the World University Services of Canada. And I attend the interview. I just tell them all my passion. And they were telling me the scholarship is for undergraduate. I cannot go into med school with the scholarship. I'm like, no, I want to I want to be a physician. I want to finish my medical studies. So I was really stubborn at that time. I was like, no, I want to be a physician. So I went to the embassy, I finished the interview, and then within a month, I knew I was not going to travel to Canada on a scholarship, but I knew I was going to travel to Canada with my family on a private sponsorship from a community group. I was like, I don't know anyone in Canada who's going to sponsor our family. It was almost impossible, really, to just understand the Canadian immigration system at that time. I waited since February 2015. It was at that time, so many applications were happening, but Canada was accepting very few numbers of refugees. There was no big campaign to bring Syrian refugees until like October or November at that year. When the elections happened and when there were a commitment to bring 25,000 Syrians by the new government. And it was all because Canadians really wanted that to happen. It was all because Canadians were at the airports waiting for families to arrive. After seeing the picture of Alan Kurdi, the Syrian child who washed up on the Turkish shores, who died, when their family was trying to reach Europe from Turkey. And that just, has sparked a lot of an amazing wave of awareness around the world of the struggle of Syrian refugees. And that's how Canada opened the doors again wider for refugees to come here and have a safer life. So I waited a lot, actually. It was, I think, waiting to come to Canada with my family has been in itself a journey that is very worth reflecting on because we kept, emailing the embassy at that time. We kept asking them, is there any update on the application? Do we know the time when our family will have the interview? Are we going to do the medical tests to come here? When is all of that going to happen? And we're not getting any answers. And we thought that we are not really going to travel. So, when your hopes go up and down, when you have something that's going to change your life. And for us as refugees, that was the only boat traveling to Canada. That was the only boat of surviving during the I call it the Titanic crisis for our family. When everyone was just sinking down, there was no opportunity just to survive. So really, that boat of coming to Canada has come after that much patience and waiting and waiting and waiting. And we knew, I had no doubt actually that this was going to happen. I was always comforting my family, even though they were so always scared of coming to Canada because they said it's too cold. They said that this country is the coldest country on the planet, right? Like immigrants, when they come here from their home countries, that's what they know about Canada. It's just they know that it's cold. But Canadians are very smart. I always say that Canadians are smart in the way that they promote the country. It's because they always show you between May and October, in the videos and in the photos. They don't show you anything. Like if I flip my camera now, you'd see it's snowing on March 15th. It was like snowing like in January or February. It's not actually snow much in February. It keeps snowing and snowing and snowing. So they don't show you that between November and April. they don't show you anything. They just show you between May and October. They show you this beautiful blue skies. Sun is shining. They show you the beaches. They show you hiking, kayaking. Walking on the beach, going into the forest, raising your feet on the cottage, watching the sun go down. All these beautiful things. They don't show you when it's like minus 25 in Nova Scotia. They don't tell you about that. So I always say that immigrants are tricked before they come here. It's just like they don't tell you the truth about the full truth about weather. So, but really, when our family arrived here, it just we found the warmth of Canadians, and that's what mattered at the end.
Yeah, we make up for the cold weather with the warm hearts
Warm heart,
of
yeah,
the people here.
absolutely, yeah, yeah. It's just amazing to see how many amazing Canadians, rallied, how many amazing Canadians rallied around the idea of immigration and believe that it is not only a system to bring people to a new country, but it's the right human path of survival for so many individuals around the world who lost the place that they call home and they just wanted to come here.
Absolutely. And you arrived in December too, right? So
I arrived in December, yes.
yeah, so you did get here in the winters.
That's right, yes.
What did it feel like to step off the plane and to be in this new place?
Oh my God. When I arrived in December 2015, it was really freezing. Like I remember stepping out of the plane, when we were just walking into the gate and just seeing the CBSA officers waiting for us when we were doing the interview. I had a friend there as well who was from Syria, and he was really excited about coming to Canada. He did not know anything about the country, but also did not know how to speak English. At that time, I was speaking a few words. So I'm like, "You just go online and learn a few words." We have a 14-hour flight from Beirut to Toronto. And the guy, he trusted me. He went online and he started learning about Canada and about the weather and how to start speaking English. And the only sentence that my friend saved on the plane was like, if you want to start a conversation with an English speaker, always talk about the weather. So my friend was talking, learning an introduction to a conversation by talking about the weather. So it's like, go to any Canadian and ask them about, hello there, it's a beautiful weather out there. So you go to any Canadian and you tell them, hello there, it's a beautiful weather out there. And we arrived on that night in December. It was really freezing. It was like minus 21 with wind chill. And it was really cold. So my friend went to the officer and he told him, hello, sir, it's a beautiful weather out there. And the Canadian officer opened his eyes as big as he could. And he told him, are you serious? It's minus 21 out there. My friend took my phone and he rephrased the sentence. And then he went back and he said, hello, sir, it's a horrible weather out there. So, so my friend was really shocked. And we were just walking out of the airport at that day in a bus. We're just going to the hotel, right, to stay before our flight to Nova Scotia. And it was really cold. I've never really experienced that cold before. Before I stepped out of the Toronto Pearson Airport into that bus, it was amazing. But as I mentioned, we're all really excited. If you look into some of the footage of refugees arriving here, and at that time, it was just all really excited. You get these heavy coats on you. They give you these heavy boots, and they tell you need them in Canada. Like, why am I going to use this 20 pound just shoes in my feet? How am I going to use them? Like, you need them. It's going to be a cold winter. So it was certainly an amazing time for myself going into Toronto, sleeping only one night at that time. And then I knew that they told me my flight is tomorrow to Nova Scotia. And I had no idea actually where this province is when I arrived in Canada. I had no idea even if Halifax is in Canada. And I arrived, and then I was welcomed with open arms. It was really a cheerful reception at the Halifax airport on December 19th when I arrived here. People were just waiting. They drove from Antigonish to Halifax, 2 hours, and they just brought signs and flowers and flags and Canadian flags, and they were saying, "Welcome to Canada, Tareq." So "Welcome to Canada" was trending at that time. People were like opening, their arms. They were driving to airports. They were staying there, buying flowers. They were welcoming immigrants. They were teaching them English. They were trying to go to them with them to grocery stores, teaching them all like aspects of life. It's like newborn babies. Like you teach them how to walk, and that's what they taught us: how to walk on the snow, to walk on ice, so you don't slip and break your back. So that's it was a lot of fun, honestly, in the first few days, for sure.
Wow. Oh, you're such a great storyteller too. I kind of feel like I could picture what all of this must have been like. And I've actually, my mother immigrated to Canada when she was in her 20s, but
Wow.
she came also in the winter in
Oh,
February.
yeah.
And
Not
so
recommended.
she, yeah, she tells a very similar story. She was actually excited to see snow. But she said she could never have imagined how cold it would have
Yeah.
been. I mean, I think that's true, right? You can't
Yeah.
even you might hear -21, but you can't imagine what that feels like until you
Until you live it.
feel that air on your face.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to live it to know what it's like, for
Yeah.
sure.
So after you arrived in Antigonish, you got settled. When did you decide that you were going to try and kind of rebuild your family's business in this new country?
So what happened is I arrived here and my family were still back in Lebanon. They followed me after 3 weeks. I texted my mother at that time a picture of Antigonish in the summer because I couldn't send her a picture of January in Antigonish. I was like, I Googled Antigonish in the summer, I downloaded it and I sent it to her. And she was so impressed. She was like, it's so beautiful out there. I was like, yeah, it's beautiful, mom. So she came in
You needed her to
January.
get on the plane, right?
Yes, I just wanted her to be on the plane. So she arrived here. It was really an amazing journey for my family. They arrived here on January 7th. It was so cold. So they came and my mother was like, yeah, what am I gonna do here? I'm like, Mom, the green is coming. So that she was really waiting for the nice weather. My mom just loves the summer here. She's really into the summer, like everyone else in the family for sure. But at that time, my family wanted to come back to business. We wanted to restart our business. We said that we have our skills and our talents. So one of the first things I told you is immigrants, they don't want to be immigrants, right? Refugees, they don't want to be refugees. It just happens that the circumstances lead them to leave their homes. We left our homes. So then what? We have to translate our skills and our talents into an opportunity and a life, not only for ourselves, but also for others. We said at that time that Canadians have opened their arms and their hearts for our family, and we wanted to give back to them. We wanted to turn all of that favor to an opportunity of starting a business, hiring from the local community in Antigonish. We know so many people have been leaving Nova Scotia to areas like Toronto, to Vancouver, to the Western Alberta for work. And if you go on statistics Canada, you see that the population of Antigonish has been dropping since a long time. The retention of new immigrants has been low. So we said that we are a family that came to Canada only because of the generosity of the community of Antigonish. And we want to just give back. We want to just to rebuild the business. The restart of the business was really interesting. It was at the time when someone came to me when I was in a coffee shop, I think it was in Halifax, and told me, why did you come to Canada to take our jobs? There were some people who are hesitant, right, about immigrants coming to Canada, and they were just thinking about them as relying on the taxpayers' money, taking the money from the immigration system, and coming here and doing nothing. And at that time, I was really, honestly, I was thinking about it. And I told him right away, I'm like, we did not come to Canada to take jobs. We came to Canada to create them. And he was like, oh, wow, okay, I'll be watching. And that guy actually kept messaging me after we started the business. He was like, you are doing it. So he was really convinced that immigrants really try to create businesses, try to get themselves to work the second day, honestly, because the second day my family arrived here, they were just sitting on a dinner table and we were talking about, okay, what are we gonna do? Even though we knew the first year for our family, it's just like, we have to learn the language, we have to learn a lot of stuff. We're not asked to like work even in the first year. We're like, we cannot just sit in our homes. We have to work. We have to give back. We have to do initiatives. We have to do campaigns. And just happened within a few weeks, we restarted the business in Canada, and it really took off from there. It was
Wow.
at the time as well when we decided to start the business. It was an amazing event that happened in Antigonish, like a potluck, when many multicultural people just bring their own dishes to a community event. There were like 200 people there. So what we did is we made chocolate in our house for a week, and we took the chocolates to give to everyone, and people loved it. Everything was gone in like 5 minutes. We have worked on it for like an entire week, and everyone really loved it. So we restarted the business right after that. We registered. We had a table at a local Winters Farmers Market when people just go every Saturday, and we had an amazing success. We were just sold out immediately. We were there with like some chocolate that we made for an entire week, and we're like, wow, okay, we sold out like in 10 minutes. So what are we gonna do next? We went back home. We started making more chocolate. We went the next week until certainly the company was really in good shape, and then we registered the company under Peace by Chocolate, and because we believe that peace is a noble value, as I mentioned, and chocolate is a product of happiness. So that was the start, just the start.
That's just incredible. I mean, that you came here, started making chocolate in your family's kitchen, bring it to a potluck, then a farmer's market, and now you have a factory, right?
That's right. We have actually. I was just thinking about it today. Someone just asked me today about how bigger the expansion was. And between 2016 and 2017, we moved to a bigger factory, 140 times bigger from the factory that we had in 2016. So we were just expanding exponentially at that time, actually. It was all because of the support of Antigonish. It was all because we are in Nova Scotia, and because we are in Canada, and because people really are supportive, and they believe newcomers bring new ideas and new skills and innovation. And as well, people usually are afraid that immigrants will just live in their own bubble, right? And that's the fear that, okay, you'll be living in a small Damascus in Halifax, which is understandable. And the older you are, like for example, many people over 6 years old, they just tend to speak Arabic, for example, with people that they are in Halifax or in Antigonish. And it just, you bubble yourself with your community that they speak the same language, that they have the same culture. And it was a mission for me at that time just to integrate into the society, to be an active member, to go into meetings, to go into conferences. And one of my best favorite mottos at that time, one of my professors in Damascus used to tell me, if it's not working, go networking. So it was like, build
I
your
love that.
network. Yeah, build your own network. Go outside, meet people, seek ideas. It was marvelous, and that certainly helped us when we started rebuilding the business.
Yeah, and you talk about the support from the local community, which you've had right from the beginning, and it's so incredible to hear how much support you've received there. And then this really became Canada-wide when Justin Trudeau mentioned you as he was speaking to the UN. So, did you know that you would be part of this speech he was making before it happened?
Never actually. No one told me. I was just watching the news like every other Canadian. And I was just surprised. I was sitting on the dinner table when I just got the phone call from one of our best friend, Neil Stephen, who's the head of the marketing team at that time. I was just rebuilding our website, and we're doing photography for the business. He was like, "Did you watch the news?" I'm like, "No, what's happening?" He was like, "Okay, go watch the news." I was watching the news, and my family were really tearing up. It was just a big moment for us. We spent like 3 days. We couldn't sleep because of the phone calls, because of the tweets, because of the calls, the phone calls, and people just trying to be supportive and trying to celebrate with us that amazing achievement. It was certainly the September 20th, 2016 was another turning point. So if there's a second turning point in the story, it would be that after moving to Canada for sure.
Yes, I feel like I remember seeing that and just hearing, seeing the social media posts about it, the support starting to pour in. And then, of course, after that, I mean, I think it sounds like it really just continued to grow from there. Obviously, the business has grown quite a bit, and the demand is there. And the chocolate is, I've had it; it's incredible.
Oh, that's great. Yes, absolutely. The business has been growing since then. It was in 2016 when we opened our first online website that we had to shut down after 3 hours on Christmas because of so much demand. We had so much sales that we could not make the product, so we had to shut the website down until in 2017 we had opened our permanent website. We had started rebuilding our vendor site so people across the country can buy our chocolate and sell it at their gift shops, sell it for fundraising, if they have a non-for-profit organization. And then we had a national partnership with Sobeys to sell into around 1,000 stores across the country. And there have been a lot of events that have happened since then, for sure. But one of the biggest points when an astronaut with NASA, Dr. Andrew Fusil, who's a Canadian American, his wife, she started calling us, and she was like, "I want to gift my husband. He's going into the International Space Station at that time, and she wanted really to gift him something." I'm like, "Wow, okay, that's great. You arrived." So what we did is we sent them T-shirts and chocolates, and we're like, "Yeah, just you should put that in his luggage and bags that he's taking to space." What I remember from that is he took all the bags. He didn't know what's in them, and it was his birthday in the space. And he just opened the bags, and he found the chocolate boxes. He found all the chocolate bars, and he was really happy with them. Something made in Canada. When you are up in the space, you would certainly love to have a Canadian product if you are from Canada. So he was really excited about it, and he opened the chocolate box. And because there is zero gravity, so the chocolate they were floating out of the box. They were just floating with zero gravity. And when you see that picture, it was really unbelievable. Like, we were making a product here in Nova Scotia, and it just went out in the space. So it was a really amazing just event to see at that time that a product that is made with love here in Nova Scotia has just gone to the space. And that was a campaign at that time. It was called From Syria to Space. It was really incredible just to have all the reactions at that time to the campaign. We just knew that the sky was never the limit.
Yeah, no kidding. Literally, the sky was not the limit. You made it all the way to space. That is very cool. Another big milestone for you happened last year when you became a Canadian citizen in 2020, and the Prime Minister even tweeted his congratulations to you at that time. So, how did you decide that you wanted to get your Canadian citizenship?
Well, Canada is a country that is amazing and rich and strong because of the diversity of people that they come here. They want to rebuild themselves. They want to have a brighter future. They want to have their kids in schools. They want to have stronger businesses. They want to give back in the first place. And it's a country that gives you freedom and human rights after we lost it in the Middle East, where I was born, when I was really scared to speak out about anything that goes into my mind, about politics, about human rights, about the economy, about culture. You cannot speak about any of that. So when I came to Canada, I just found this freedom back. I just felt that I'm a human being, that I'm as worthy as a permanent resident in Canada as all other humans, right? And I had all the rights. Since you come here as a permanent resident, you can do anything. You have access to healthcare. You have access to employment. You have access to resources. You have access to go to anywhere. You can visit the parliament. You can meet politicians. You can talk to anyone. You can travel from far coast to the far coast to the far coast. You have no limits. And Canada is the second largest country in the world. But regardless of all the materialistic indicators at that time, for me, becoming a Canadian meant that I am joining a big family. And that family was all there for me. And I remember very well, I passed my Canadian citizenship test on December 4th in 2019. I was really excited. I knew that my citizenship ceremony would happen in 6 weeks, but I kept counting the days down until my ceremony. And when I was there sitting in the room with 50 other new Canadians who were just talking the oath of citizenship. And I was so lucky. That was just 2 months before the pandemic. I was so lucky to have that ceremony happens at that time. It was just maybe the largest major event that I have attended before all the lockdowns and the events in after the pandemic. So it meant a lot to me. Becoming Canadian was the biggest honor of my life, certainly. And I hope that I was making Canada great and continue to making Canada proud of welcoming and opening the arms and doors for immigrants and newcomers.
Well, there is absolutely no doubt about that. We are so lucky to have you here. And I am so grateful that you spent time today to share your story about your turning point and all of the hardship that your family went through. I'm sure it's still hard to look back on those times, but I'm so glad that you came out of the other side. And the fact that this theme of your family, no matter what situation you've been in, making an effort to help others, which you continue to do with the proceeds from Peace by Chocolate as well. It's just a testament to the determination, the resilience, and the empathy that your family has cultivated and has brought with them here from Syria to Lebanon to Canada. So thank you so much, Tareq. And I look forward to seeing what you do next, both with Peace by Chocolate and with your community work as well.
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it. And I'm really honored to be on this amazing podcast. A lot really coming along the way. We are releasing our movie based on our story, hopefully later in the summer. It was filmed last year, and we cannot really wait to see it in movie theaters, on online platforms. Hopefully it will be on Netflix, it will be on CBC and CTV, and it would just tell the entire story. And there is no limit. Certainly, we're going everywhere because we believe that peace is for everyone and peace is beautiful.
Wow. Oh, that's great. Oh my gosh, this leaves us with a good cliffhanger, the movie. I can't wait to see that. And certainly after our conversation today, I'm not surprised at all that it does very much sound like a movie, and I'm glad it has a happy ending.
Absolutely, no doubt. I'm really grateful for all of those who have been with us to make that happy ending. I usually say that no one can go back and start a new beginning, but everyone can start today and make a new ending. So that ending is going to be certainly a happy one.
Oh, I love that. Well, thanks again, Tareq, and we look forward to continuing to follow your journey and to seeing the movie when it comes out now. Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it. You take care.
You too. And thank you so much to all of you at home who are watching and listening. We really appreciate you spending time with us today. Tune in next week for another Turning Point story. And until then, take good care of yourself and of each other.